Hello YouTube, my name is Tyler and this is gonna be some sort of reading vlog. I have started to reread A Series of Unfortunate Events, which is I guess probably a pretty formative series of books for me as a child, preteen, young adult, I guess. And it's been a few years since I've reread it. I don't reread them every year because there are 13 books. And even though they start pretty short, like this is only 162 pages long, they do get a little chunky as the series goes on. So it's not something I can feasibly reread every year or something I want to reread every year, to be quite honest. But I read S by J.J. Abrams and Doug Dorst last month in July. And there was like some secret society stuff going on. There was some fires that were going on, and it just really had me wanting to reread A Series of Unfortunate Events. So I am 2 chapters into The Bad Beginning. If I really wanted to, I could finish it in like a day. But I am already reading a couple of books right now, so I've just read a chapter before bed. I'm not really sure how quickly I'm going to be getting through these, but I thought it might be interesting to kind of take you along as I reread it, and I can kind of just chat with you when interesting things pop up or I have something to say. Because like I said, I feel like these are pretty formative to me. When I started the first chapter 2 nights ago, just the first page alone, I felt like says so much about me as a reader and the types of things I like to read. So I'm just going to read the first page, which is just a paragraph. If you are interested in stories with happy endings, you would be better off reading some other book. In this book, not only is there no happy ending, there's no happy beginning, and very few happy things in the middle. This is because not very many happy things happened in the lives of the 3 Baudelaire youngsters. Violet, Klaus, and Sunny Baudelaire were intelligent children, and they were charming and resourceful and had pleasant facial features, but they were extremely unlucky. And most everything that happens to them was rife with misfortune, misery, and despair. I'm sorry to tell you this, but that is how the story goes. I feel like that opening paragraph says so much about like what I like in a book. Something that isn't going to be happy. I like a dark, gloomy, maybe negative type of book. I like something where the author is addressing you as a reader. I like something where it just immediately drags you into a alternate universe, but not like necessarily in a sci-fi or fantastical way, but more so in like a this is a true story type of way. Like a fake nonfiction alternate reality. I don't know, there's something about that just like immediately grabs my attention. And Daniel Handler / Lemony Snicket does that so well in this first book. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just really happy, excited to be reading more of these this year. But I'm just kind of planning on checking in when interesting things happen, kind of talk about what I love about it as a child, maybe new things that stick out to me as I read them as an adult. It's been a couple years, maybe 4 or 5 years since I've read it. I feel like maybe I read it in 2018, maybe. So it's been a bit. I'm not sure if I've read them since I watched the Netflix show, and I've only watched the Netflix show once. So I think I am going to watch the Netflix show as I read this, just for the fun of it, and I've kind of been thinking about the Netflix show. I had mixed feelings about the Netflix show. Namely, I didn't quite love Neil Patrick Harris as Count Olaf, but whatever. So I don't know what this vlog is going to look like, but I thought I would go ahead and start it because it was something I did want to do while reading the series. So I'll see you when I have some sort of update. Greetings. It's been a while since I've checked in about a series of unfortunate events. It is the 16th of August, and I have been reading this for a very long time. This is like the longest I have ever taken to read the first book in the series. I usually, you know, read it in a day or two because it's under 200 pages, but I've just been reading like a little bit at a time, not even every day before bed. It's just when I feel like it. Anyways, last night I read chapter 6, and I just highlighted a little section that I wanted to talk about. So, if you don't know, the bad beginning, the Baudelaire orphans are sent to live with Count Olaf, who is in a theater troupe, and he is abusive. And after they try and talk to their family banker to see if they can move, because the banker is the one that's controlling their fortune until Violet, the oldest, comes of age, the next day Count Olaf tells them that he is going to give them a part in the play he is working on, and everyone is very skeptical. Anyways, so he says, "Well," Count Olaf said, his eyes shining brightly, "the play is called The Marvelous Marriage, and it is written by the great playwright Al von Kunt. We will give only one performance on this Friday night." Anyways, the reason I highlighted this was because, so the play is written by a man called Al von Kunt, and that is a anagram of Count Olaf. And I remember this being one of the things that really drew me into the series of unfortunate event books. Just like there being like these little puzzles that you could find, but like if you didn't find them, it like doesn't necessarily change the story that much. And I feel like that is kind of also shows like what I look for in a book. Like I like those little Easter eggs, but I don't want them to be so fundamental to the story that if like I don't catch them, I don't understand what's going on. So like Elf von Kunt, if you're like very good at anagrams and you catch that when you're reading it, you'll know what's coming in the rest of the book. I mean, these books are very old, so I guess spoiler warning. But this is a play that Count Olaf wrote, and he uses it as a ploy to marry Violet to get her money. So if you're very good at anagrams, you might see that Count Olaf is in there and you're like, that's something to be suspicious about. But like already the kids are already suspicious about it. So it's just like a fun little Easter egg in there. And there are so many throughout the series. Like at the end of the book, there is always an illustration at the end of the book. And there's always a hint for the next book. So I don't know how well this is going to focus. There's Snake here, and in book 2 they go to live with their Uncle Monty, who is a herpetologist and has a whole bunch of snakes. And so I don't know, I just want to talk about that. That's like part of the reason I love these books. I love those little puzzles. I feel like there's probably still things in here that I don't even realize are hints and clues. Maybe not in this one particularly, but like throughout the series in general. Anyways, I just wanted to talk about it. I'm like halfway through the book at this point. I thought I would read at least like 2 or 3 of these books in the month of August, but it's not looking like it, just because I've had a ton of library books that I've been working on. So anyways, I'll come check in. I don't know, I assume the next check-in will be when I finish the book, but alright, I'll talk to you later. Hello, it is my last check-in for The Bad Beginning. I have just finished it. I wanted to talk about a little quote I had highlighted and I forgot to film a clip for, and then I'll just do some kind of last minute closing thoughts. So if you've never read these books before, they're obviously children's books, but they are addressing the reader. And one of the, I guess, tropes of Lemony Snicket is that he will define words for the reader. So some people find it very grating. Some, it's part of the charm. So the very first one is, the three Baudelaire children lived with their parents in an enormous mansion at the heart of a dirty and busy city, and occasionally their parents gave them permission to take a rickety trolley. The word rickety, you probably know, here means unsteady or unlikely to collapse, alone to the seashore, where they would spend the day as a sort of vacation as long as they were home for dinner. So he interjects to define a word that maybe you don't know. However, he turns it on its head later in the bad beginning. I don't remember what chapter this is, but it's on page 109. And it says, "Come now," Count Olaf said, his voice faking, a word here which means feigning kindness. And that's just so fun to me, because there's something about the way the tone of Lemony Snicket books in A Series of Unfortunate Events where he treats children as adults, the way he defines stuff is not talking down to the reader, and that's one way of highlighting it. He used the word faking, which most children would know, and then gave them the harder word, they would actually know that word instead. And it's just a fun little twist on that trope. Anyways, so the bad beginning, I can't remember if I did a summary or not. The three Baudelaire orphans, well, they weren't orphans at the beginning. Their parents died in a house fire, and they were sent off to a family member as was requested in their family's will. This family member, Count Olaf, is a bad person and is trying to steal their fortune. I guess I'm getting into spoilers. This book was published almost 20 years ago. Well, over 20 years ago. So I guess fair warning. He tries to steal their fortune by marrying Violet, his 14-year-old. I don't remember how exactly they're related because it's a very distant relation, but he tries to marry Violet, the eldest. And they figure out his plan. And they kind of foil it, but before he can be arrested, he escapes. And that is where the book ends off. Mr. Poe, their banker, is going to take them home with him, and he's going to find a new place to put them up. And then also, if you don't know, there's always a letter at the end from Lemony Snicket to his editor, and I'll just read this one. I'm not going to read every single one of them, but I'll read this one. "To my kind editor, I am writing you from the London branch of the Herpetological Society, where I am trying to find out what happened to the reptile collection of Dr. Montgomery, following the tragic events that occurred while the Baudelaire orphans were in his care. An associate of mine will place a small waterproof box in the phone booth of the Electra Hotel at 11 p.m. next Tuesday. Please retrieve it before midnight to avoid it falling into the wrong hands. In the box, you will find my description of these terrible events entitled The Reptile Room, which is book 2, as well as a map of Lousy Lane, a copy of the film Zombies in the Snow, and Dr. Montgomery's recipe for coconut cream cake. I have also managed to track down one of the few photographs of Dr. Lucafont in order to help Mr. Hillquest, who is the illustrator of these books, with his illustrations. Remember, you are my last hope that the tales of the Baudelaire orphans can finally be told to the general public. With all due respect, Lemony Snicket." And that's also just, I feel kind of highlights the tone of these books, kind of where they are going in this secret organization, all these spy engagements, I guess. I don't know exactly what word I was looking for there. And it just kind of shows like maybe the path we're going on, and it also foreshadows by straight up telling you what's going to happen in the next books. So like zombies in the snow is a thing that is like a plot point sort of in the second book. Dr. Lucafont is like a character. So like straight up telling you like these are things that are going to be in the next book. And get you excited for book 2. I also just realized now that I have read Lolita, it's funny, I have been listening to the Lolita podcast by Jamie Loftus, and in the first episode she talked about how Daniel Handler, i.e. Lemon Snicket, mentioned that Lolita was his favorite book or one of his favorite books in an interview he did in the early 2000s, and that got her to read Lolita when she was like 12. And it's funny because now I have caught a reference that I had never caught before. His name is Montgomery, like Humbert. So that's an interesting little tidbit, except Montgomery is like actually their best relative. So the second book is probably one of my favorites, and that tends to be my thing. I tend to really like a second book in a series, so The Reptile Room is one of my favorites. Anyways, this was interesting. It's been a while since I've read this, and the defining of the words is happens a lot more in this one than I realized, but I think that might just be the chapters are only like 10 pages long, and there's like usually like one definition in each chapter at least, so the fact that it's under 200 pages, it just makes them feel like they're happening a lot. Anyways, I think I'm actually going to close this vlog here because August is almost over. I was actually thinking I was going to read multiple books in August, but this month has just kind of gotten away from me. So I think I'm just going to make this kind of like a little mini vlog, and I'll close it here. And then in September, I probably will hopefully have another a series of unfortunate events vlog with multiple books. If I keep them short, I'll probably just post them in between full-length videos, but we'll see how things go. Anyways, that's all my thoughts. I will see y'all when I see ya. Bye.